Hi there, I'm back on this pasture and I'm so excited because, gosh, there's a bit of interference, there's an electric fence quite nearby and I'm afraid there's building works going on there. So there's going to be a bit of noise, I'm afraid. But I'm so excited because the last time I was here from the last video, as you will have seen, was just extraordinary. And I'm just going to do bits of it a bit more carefully now, and it's not raining so I can film properly. I hope you enjoyed the last video. It was a bit different, and please let me know either way if you haven't already. A lot of you probably would have got absolutely fed up and tired of seeing me at my desk, but there's no other way I could do it, and it was quite fun to do. Anyway, I found a very, very exciting piece of bronze, because bronze blobs like this can only be a fabulous sign. It's just gnarly and waste-like, and where there are bronze blobs there are usually Roman stuff not far behind, and maybe a bit later. And I found an absolutely wonderful Roman coin as well, in lovely condition. I'm not sure who it is, probably someone like Constans, because it's got the soldiers and just one standard on the reverse. Now I think the soldiers and one standard comes after the soldiers and two standards. We might just whiz back to headquarters and I'll explain all that quickly. But generally speaking, it's just mid 4th century bronzes of the house of Constantine. I'm absolutely thrilled with that. And then just down here, I haven't been here very long, and it's really bad news when you find things like this too early on in your session, because it means you probably won't find anything afterwards. It's a little hammered coin. It's a halfpenny or a farthing. I think it must be a halfpenny. It's the third one I found here now. It's in beautiful condition, and like the other two, it is an Edward of sorts. I can see his hair and his crown. I can see Ed wore. And on the other side is just a beautiful, got the silver content in this. It's a little bit clipped. It looks like it's a London mint in Lombardic writing, I think. Isn't that when the ends go a bit more sort of curly? But what a beautiful little coin that is. And as I said, that's not the greatest sign, because if you start like this, you know, you're only going to give yourself a 4, but Jesus, I'm absolutely thrilled. Three incredibly promising finds early on. That's quite a nice sound. I don't have my speaker plugged in today. I forgot the wires. I'll bleep some sounds in, and I'll just let myself know what they sound like. Medium depth, semi-squeaky, but good. I haven't quite got the measure of this field yet, and I've been digging up a lot of ring pulls again. When I was last here, I was finding stuff very close to the surface, so I can't ignore them. But that's at about 6 or 7 inches. There's a lot of army stuff here as well. There's a lot of rubbish to get through. It's not rubbish, but it's not the good stuff either. It's just a tiny button. Gosh, at that depth, it's a sort of boring Georgian-y type button. Quite hard work today so far. I thought that that early good stuff might be a bad sign. Fingers crossed it's not. Found a really lovely, gosh, the wind has suddenly picked up. I hope you can hear me okay. I don't think I noticed the wind in this country till I started making metal detecting videos, but my God, it's always windy. A really lovely Victorian penny, halfpenny, or is it a penny? I think it might be a penny. I mean, that's just lovely. I mean, there's not the most amount of detail, but it's just so worn. And it's 1861, which is sort of the middle of her reign. I think she started in about 1840, but she's still got the bun head, and that's just lovely. That's one of my. I'm really pleased with that. It's so tactile and in incredibly good condition, just worn. And then just here, which supports my mole theory. This was on the surface, absolutely on the surface. But it's a very, very moly field. And I'm sure that things are being brought up by the moles, including this cut half. So that's our second piece of silver today. Medieval silver. I don't know who it is. It's a short cross though, a voided short cross, but that's just lovely. Hi there and welcome to headquarters. I always say we're so quick just to say in these videos, oh, it's a long cross, it's a short cross, it's a voided short cross and all the rest of it. I'm automatically assuming that you know exactly what we're talking about, and I suspect most of you do. But just in case you don't, I'm digging up this little coin. Gives me an excuse just to have a quick look at them in a bit more detail. And also that first one we found just here as well, and that's an absolute beauty. To cut a story short, in 1180, Henry II changed the coinage from what he had in place already, which was a short cross as well, but it was a short cross. It was a solid short cross with crosslets in between in the quarters. I'll show you a picture now. I don't have a full one. I've never found the full one. I have found some halves, but I don't know where they are at the minute. So we'll just have to do with the photograph. But it was commonly known as a Tealby type. But as I said, in 1180, that all changed, and he brought in a voided short cross. Now the void refers to the gap between there were two lines forming each arm of the cross in a voided cross, and the void refers to the gap between the lines, or the fact that there were two lines instead of one. So that's what we mean by voided short cross. It's a little bit misleading because it does slightly sort of give you the idea that, that at the same time there were other types of short cross. There weren't. It was just the voided short cross, and it only spanned those dates from 1180 to 1247. But it did not just span those dates. It spanned four kings: Henry II, Richard, John, and Henry III. Henry III changed it when he came in to a voided long cross, which meant that the cross itself went to the end of the coin, like in this one here, which is a really good example actually. What's confusing is that all the short crosses have Henricus in the legend, Henry. So Henry II is Henricus, John Henricus, Richard Henricus, and Henry III Henricus. So they are really, really hard to nail. Now you can go through your spink and he will tell you that it's all about differences in the pellets on the hair and difference between the curliness of the beard and things like that, or the scepter that they're holding. All those lead to in being able to ID your coin exactly. I think there are 8 classes in all, and yeah, I mean they do look very, very similar. They're quite hard to pin down. On the legend on the reverse is always the moneyer and the mint, and it was when the long cross of Edward I, which came after the voided long cross of Henry III, that the moneyer himself, the person who was minting it, goes out, and all you get is civitas and the mint itself. So you can struggle with this, and there's a brilliant thing by Carl Savage, who I'll give you a link. He's a very good online source of IDing your medieval coin. Or you can be lazy and you can chuck it on the detecting hub with a decent photograph like I've done here, and one of the warlocks, one in particular, Electors, who is pretty good on this sort of thing and can almost tell you what coin you've got before you even send him a photograph. He'll come back to you and he'll say, in this case, it's a class 2 short cross. Now I can come to my spink rather than bothering the great man going, what's a class 2? You know, when was that date to? I mean, I've got enough information now. I can do it myself. So I can go to the short cross coinage of Henry II, Richard I, class 2, chin, whiskers made of small curls, no side whiskers, la-di-da, la-di-da, and that gives me that. So now I know it's which 1189 to 1199. That's really nice. Now, this one was in absolute, we'll come back to that in a second, beautiful condition. I love these little half pennies. I mean, wow. Again, these are just as hard to ID as anything. I mean, there's so little to start off with, even though I know I can see London on it. And I did notice, I think it's called Lombardic writing with the sort of slightly curlier stuff. Electus also got straight back to me and said, it's a Edward III florin London halfpenny. Now, I'm not quite sure what florin London halfpenny means, and I'm not going to bore you with it now, but it will be in here, and I will look it up later, and I will be a bit more knowledgeable, and maybe next time I won't need Electus or anyone else, and I can just go, oh, it's the third, London florin halfpenny. But two really lovely hammered coins, and I hope that's been helpful in knowing a bit about short cross coinage. Avoided short cross coinage. Anyway, thank you very much, and let's go back to the fields. Really cool. There's a lot of age between those two coins, but really pleased with both of them. Well, from one extreme to another, my God, now that really, well, I'm not surprised because it's big, but that's almost 2 foot down, and it's a socking great piece of pot or cauldron, bronze bit of, that would have been enormous if you, I'm trying to shield the wind slightly. If you were to follow this round, you'd have a big pot, and I'm not surprised. It's a lovely piece of bronze. But from that deep down here to what we've just found there, my God, that wasn't brought up by moles. But that's almost certainly medieval. This wasn't very deep either. I've come right down to the bottom of the field. I'm definitely finding more stuff. But it supports my mole theory again. It's a beautiful Roman coin. It's a bit chipped round the outside. House of Constantine. One of the later sort of ones. It's probably Magentius or someone like that. Can I read it? No, it's got a CO, so Constans or Constantius II probably. It's got the reverse of the emperor or the soldier running a pilum through a fallen enemy coming off his horse. I can't remember exactly which one, but you can clearly see it. It's absolutely beautiful. Hi there, and welcome back to have a quick look at these Roman coins, at the issues which have the two soldiers and either one or two standards. You can date them absolutely from how many standards are on the coin itself. The one we found on the day is Constans, and it says Constans Org. Now, that's Constans as emperor, not as Caesar, as you do get in obviously earlier coins. And the one we found on the day has just one standard. Now, I'm right, the one standard comes after the issue of the two standards. And I have one here, not a particularly good one, because I'm halfway through cleaning it. As you can see, one side's rather messy, the other one's rather clean. The two standards come in between 330 and 335. We can date it exactly. And from 335, you get more of the single standard. The two standards goes out. And one reason, perhaps, is the fact that the coins were getting smaller and it was easier just to have one standard on it. There's a really good book. I've talked about this book before, The Coinage of Roman Britain by Richard Rees. And there's a really interesting section. In fact, for these sort of coins, you can do really well on these. And it talks about these coins with the standards. And it's got a picture of one here. The two standards belong only to the years 330 to 335. Another example of the reverse dating the coin rather than the emperor doing so. And it's a really good book, this, for all these type of coins. And later on, we've got another one here. And it's just the single standard. In 335, the coins which had two soldiers with two standards changed as the coins got smaller to show just one standard. And these issues continued from 335 to 341. So you basically can date the coin pretty much completely from how many standards? Two standards, 330 to 335. One standard, 335 to 341. So the one standard is more likely to deal with the heirs of Constantine, Constantius, Constans and Constantine II, rather than Constantine the Great himself. And those are just really nice little coins. But as it does say in this book, they are very, very common. And another even commoner one, there's a very good website. Again, I refer to both these books in a video I did on my other channel about how to research your coins. But there's a very good website which deals in basically 4th century coins, which shows you how to tell the coin from the emperor and the reverse at the same time. And you've got here Gloria Exercitus, you've got the two standards there, and a little later on you've got one with the one standard. But this one's also extremely good for dating our second coin we found. if I can find it. Yes, here we are, which is the soldier stabbing the fallen horseman. Again, I read somewhere that this is the most violent coin the empire produced. You don't actually get killing often on coins, but you pretty much do here. This is a lovely coin. The portrait is absolutely brilliant, and I think it's Constantius. And actually the reverse is pretty good too. There is a little bit in here which, interestingly, in this book, we're told that these coins came in 348, and the legend, which is Fel Temp Reparatio, which is return of happiness of former times, continues with the issues showing a standing soldier leaning over to spear an enemy who has fallen off his horse. Goes on to say, the large fallen horseman coins were often copied in Britain, declining to a very low standard in all respects. I thought it may be copied because the reverse looks a bit crude, but I think that's all right. And the portrait's absolutely spectacular. But as I said, it's really good, this website, for that, because I can go to the fallen horseman. I know it's 348 because it's from 348 because that's told me. But here I can see it here, and I can just go a little bit further above, and it tells me who this coin will correlate to. We sort of already know. It's Constantine. It gives the heirs of Constantine. In fact, it's got to be Constantius because he was the only one who survived, I think. Constantine Jr. and Constans were died or killed off. In fact, Constantius II ruled for about 24 years, I think. So I think this coin does refer to him. Anyway, sorry to go on about it, but I think it's just quite important sometimes. We so easily say, oh, that's this coin, oh, that's that coin, without really even knowing ourselves. One of the brilliant bits about doing these headquarter sections is I learn more than anyone, because I've got to mug up a bit first. I've got to get my books out and stuff, and so I sound like I know what I'm talking about. Anyway, let's go back to the fields. Gosh, there's a lot of stuff in this field. It's quite hard work, but there's a lot of stuff. Well, that's a really lovely buckle. I'm not quite sure what they date to, but I think it's sort of 1400. It looks like, well, the actual tongue itself, or whatever you call it, the plate's actually cast in with the buckle. I think something would have gone round it. It's missing its pin, but I'm really pleased with that. That's really cool. Nice find. Well, this was loud, and I have dug a very, very long way down. This is 2 foot more. Part of me thought it was just going to be iron, and I was about to stop, but this is just too interesting, this area, that I just thought I'd better keep going just in case. Now I can see it's green. It's green at 2 feet, and so it's got to be big. It might just be a crappy piece of copper, but I'm going to have to be a bit careful now. I don't tend to dig things this deep. It's not in my remit. I really don't. I tend to give up, and I'm sure I've missed out on a hoard or two over the years. Well, God, I don't even know how that's working. Oh, rats, I think it's modern. In fact, it's definitely modern. That's a real shame, because I got really excited about that. It's a shocking great piece of pot. God, maybe part of that last piece. We're in the same area. I never get on my knees. I had to then, because it was just too deep. I don't think there's anything on it, just a big, big piece of cauldron. Well, an exceptional sign. I just thought it might be something, it might be a Saxon shield or something. God, that is deep. That is deep. That's the deepest hole I've ever dug, I think. That's rather squeaky, small and squeaky. We've dug some really cool things, but nothing like as spectacular as last time I was here, where every single signal was something good. It was absolutely mind-blowing. And I think I came here with a thought that every single signal today was going to be mind-blowing too. I can't complain. I think I've just slightly been setting the bar too high for myself, because I've been so lucky recently. I mean, just oddly lucky. And maybe I'm just not being as satisfied as I used to be with just normal average days, which is wonderful, especially when the sun's out like this. And I mean, the most beautiful part of the country. I mean, it's gorgeous here. Well, that's now very close to this side. Very nice big double beep. And I suspect it's going to be a cartridge. Nope. It's a rather lovely little buckle. Well, I'm pleased with that. That's a really lovely one. Really lovely. So it's coming up with beautiful medieval bits like that. I mean, that's completely charming. It's in such beautiful condition. Look at it, the way it's sort of chamfered on the sides. I mean, that's an absolute belt of an early buckle. And where there's buckles, there'll be there should be coins. As I said, I just thought I'd come here and it'll all just be laid out for me again. But it's not. It's been really hard work. I mean, I've struggled, but that's made my day. Really, it's beautiful. It's not very exciting sounding. It's small, but it's still in there. Just here. I'm pinpointing well today. I always tell you when I'm pinpointing well, and I tell you when I'm pinpointing badly too. Found a lot of lead today, and that's just another piece. Endless lead today, endless. Well, all in all, it's been a bloody fun day. At least you can see a bit of what this field looks like, which you couldn't when I was last here. I found two lovely hoops, and if you know me from my videos, you know I love a hoop. That one has got nothing on it, and this one, that looks like all the chamfered hoops that we find, has got a pin in it. Now, it's a pretty crude copper pin. I mean, it looks like it would have been added sort of later. It's not a very grand brooch, even if it were a proper one. But it's lovely to see that, because you don't see them very often, and it just proves the fact that they might not just, as I always say, be harness rings. Or this one's been repurposed anyway. But those are beautiful. And we're going to end on this one, which is quite dull sounding, a bit like a cartridge if I'm being completely honest. But I've just dug a lot of holes today, and it's been hard work. I've been digging absolutely everything. You've got to when you're in a new place, before you get the measure of things. That's sounding really horrible and squeaky now. I like kicking it off like that, and then the mud goes back into the hole. Right. Just there, it wasn't very deep. It's another tiny piece of lead. If I've dug one tiny piece of lead today, I've dug 100 tiny pieces of lead today. Thank you very, very much for watching. Not as stellar as the last few episodes, the times we've been out, but God, those have just been hard to beat. We've come back down to earth with a bit of a bang, and even then we found Roman coins, hammered coins, bits and pieces. So I'm absolutely thrilled. I've just got to be a bit more realistic, perhaps. Anyway, thank you very much, and see you next time. Well, here's another little tiny Roman. Out of nowhere, when you least expect it. Just on my way back to the car. And I've got all my camera stuff packed away. That's why I'm not, I'm just doing it like this. Isn't that a pretty one? Again, it's another House of Constantine. I'm literally by the gate. Really lovely. What a treat.